apology for jumping over me today. You gave me time to calm down. Because I'm telling you, Mr. Secretary, first of all, I'm delighted to see you, glad that you're here, but I am fuming at your response to the chairman with regard to what happened on the medical supply and ag provisions that occurred on Cuba. First of all, let me just say this. This administration is an administration of change. The president campaigned based on a campaign of change in direction. And we have seen the president mount a major effort, and I fully support what he is doing. What you said to the chairman in response with regard to interpreting this provision that was in the law that we passed, consistent with prior interpretations, to me flies in the face of, first of all, what congressional intent was until two members of the Senate decided it was not congressional intent. And secondly, when you said you want to work with the authorizing committee to try to move forward, how in the world can I accept that? Because the same two senators may weigh again as we pass whatever changes we may want to pass. And so that is unacceptable to me, because if that's the only reason you all flied against, violated congressional intent based on what we wanted to do, then I don't know how you're going to do it in the future. So that has not changed. Any interpretation of any laws based on the past 8 years when we're trying to change those laws, to go back and say that you're interpreting it consistent with the last administration, to me is just downright outrageous. Secondly, Chairman Rangel and myself, we asked GAO to conduct a report on OFAC and its expenditure of tax dollars as it relates to enforcing the embargo against Cuba. You all were instructed, again, under the last administration, which we never received, to conduct a risk-based assessment, which GAO recommended. Cuba sanction and enforcement for many years was unbelievable in terms of the dollars that it took, tax dollars, to enforce it. And we believe, and GAO has recommended, that those resources could be used for efforts such as protection and homeland security, rather than enforcing and fining individuals for bringing in Cuban cigars. Thirdly, Mr. Chairman, let me just ask you about the TARP funding as it relates to minority and women-owned businesses. Also, minority media outlets. We have written to you and to Vice President Biden. I chair the Congressional Black Caucus, and we have not seen the banks respond at all in terms of advertising dollars. They're not being fair with our tax dollars, and we want to see how the Treasury Department, yourself, Mr. Secretary, can make sure that the banks provide for a level playing field and use some of these TARP dollars when they're advertising in major media outlets, that they also play fair and provide advertising in Black and Latino and Asian Pacific American media. And we've written to you, we've written to the Vice President. We're going to stay on this until there is some justice in this whole effort. Thank you.
Would you like me to respond? Okay. On your first point, I understand your concerns. We're applying the law as we believe it reads, but as I said, we're willing to work with the appropriations and authorizing committees to find a way to move forward in this issue and meet your concerns and the chairman's. I don't know if that's going to be possible, but we would be happy to try and do that.
But we tried to do that in the legislation.
I understand, and I know that I'm not addressing your concern today.
No,
in this case.
but I mean, we tried to do that, is what I'm saying.
But we're going to have to try again, because I think that if we don't believe it's, again, we're interpreting the law as we believe it's written.
But we were trying to change that as it is written, Mr. Secretary.
I understand.
And so what I'm saying to you is that is disingenuous.
No, it's not. I will never be disingenuous before you. I'm stating exactly why I wrote the letter as I did, what its rationale for, and I'm committing to work with the authorizers and appropriators on how to move forward in this question. We'd like to find a way to try to address this, and we have a chance to try and do that. Now,
okay, I look forward to working with you on that. And I want to see exactly how we're going to do that.
Okay, and that's reasonable. And you should judge us by our actions and give me a chance to try to meet your concerns on this issue. I don't know if we can do it, but we'll try. On enforcement resources for OFAC sanctions, for Cuba-related sanctions. If I understand the numbers correctly, we have roughly 10 full-time equivalent slots in Treasury now devoted to this enforcement challenge. That's 10 against 155. I'm not completely sure we've got the balance right, but we'll keep looking at that, trying to make sure we're not overdoing it and we're not using misallocating resources. But we've got a whole set of obligations we have to meet. We have to meet those as carefully as we can, responsibly as we can. Now, on your question about minority and
the GAO study and the recommendation, the risk-based assessment, are you in the process of conducting it?
Well, of course, as in any case, we look carefully at what the GAO does. And my general view on these things is, of course, that how you allocate resources should be guided by a risk-based approach, and you should be looking at where we get the highest return on the marginal resources. That approach is something I believe in deeply.
Well, we're looking forward to the report.
Now, on the TARP question, I'll give you, I hear you, I understand your concern, I understand your interest in this issue. Let me just give you one example where we're trying to be responsive. We outlined as part of our effort to try to fix the financial system, clean up the financial system, a set of new funds that provide a market for real estate-related loans and securities that were at the heart of the crisis, still gumming up the financial system. And as part of soliciting interest, applications for participation by asset managers in these funds, we encouraged firms to partner with small, veteran-owned, minority women-owned businesses. And the applications, a lot of interest in this program. And I'm pleased to say that most applications, and certainly the strongest applications, have come with very substantial partnerships. And we expect to announce in the next couple of weeks our decisions on the selected asset management companies. And I hope you'll see in that context evidence that we're trying to be responsive to your concerns in this area.
How about minority media?
No, I can't respond to you today on the media question you raised, but I heard you, and I'd be happy to get back to you on that question.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And if we have a second go around, I have some
Yes, thank you. And I would